my team Y. So we had our backlog refinement yesterday, basically. So that's where we are basically right now. So we're still kicking it.
That is Jamila, right? You spoke just now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys started the sprint planning already?
We're on it.
Awesome.
Yes.
So what other team do we have here that have started their sprint planning already?
Team X is here, but we couldn't meet yesterday. Majority of the people did not know that there was a call for meeting, and so we have moved it on to tomorrow since we have this class today. So yes, we are working on it, but we just could not get ourselves together. We couldn't meet yesterday.
Awesome. So what other team do we have here that has started the sprint planning? Anyone aside from team X and Y?
I'm in team A, and we just set up today, so we haven't yet met to do anything. Hopefully after class we can come together and figure out when we can solve the question.
Okay, awesome. Speaking for team Z, right? Literally we just been chatting on WhatsApp and trying to go through the sprint plan and everything, but it's still a work in progress. Probably we might just hop on Zoom and actually do a session, just like it will be in real time, so that's update from my end. Any other person wants to give an update from their end too? We have team Y, team X, and team Z right now. All right, so we have Ali, Charles, Dia, Eric, Fatima, Gabriel, Hannah. So can we guys call out our names?
Kelechi.
Okay.
Jamila.
Julia.
Kelechi. Jamila. Julia. Okay.
Jovita.
Julia. Jovita. Okay.
Kaltuma, Kaltuma.
Kaltuma. Kaltuma. Oh my goodness. All right.
Amarachi.
Amarachi. Who else?
Laura.
With the L? Or with
Yes. L. Laura.
Okay, who else? Who else we got? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 3 more persons on this Zoom. Should I start calling out names? Jamila is here. Ayola. Ayola, are you there?
Ayola is Laura.
Oh, Laura, okay. Jovita is here. Jules. That's Julia, right?
Yes.
We have Jyoti. Jyoti, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you call out your name already?
Sorry?
Did you call out your name already?
No.
No, Jyoti, she has not called her name yet. Jyoti, Jyothi.
J-O-Y.
No, Jyo.
J-Y-O-T.
Hi.
C-H-I.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another person who has not called out the name. Kola. Kola, are you here? Kola, are you with us? Please unmute your mic in case you're muted. So, Kelechi, what do I need to do now? Save?
Yeah, no, you don't even need to save. Just spin the wheel.
Okay. Oh, this will just fall on anybody to.
Yeah, and the person takes the floor. But I'd have to go on behalf of Jyoti. She's really she's really not available to speak now where she is. So I can speak on her behalf.
Okay, go ahead, Jyoti.
Okay. What would you like me to do?
I was just trying to elaborate a little bit of the three pillars of Scrum. Jamila already went. We need everybody to touch base with your ideology so we can all like, have a go at it. So it synchronizes with us. Most of us here are quite new. So, reiterating it will help a great deal. Thank you.
The three pillars of, well, yeah, you could say three pillars of Scrum in a way, because most of the time they refer to it as the three pillars of empiricism. And it's transparency, inspection, and adaptation, like Jamila had mentioned. Transparency really is about making sure that everyone involved is aware of what is going on, including the customer. What happens is that most organizations, when they are discussing transparency, they don't like to include the customer. They like to keep the customer away, and then they imagine that the customer will wait for the final delivery to be done. But that's not what Scrum promotes, right? We want to include the customer, and that's why some organizations ensure that during the sprint review, they invite the customer for every sprint, so that the customer is kept up to date as to what is going on. And then inspection really is about reflecting. That's where most of the time we focus our energy on during our sprint retrospective. So that inspection phase is to make sure that we are making sure that we're documenting our lessons learned, our best practices, while focusing on continuous improvements, and we're not leaving any stone unturned really through the cracks. And then we have adaptation. Adaptation is also about continuous improvement. It also helps us to work on our speed. During the last class, one of our team members mentioned that Agile is about speed. So that adaptation element focuses more on making sure that in the market, we have a very good competitive advantage. We are adapting quickly to the feedback that we're receiving from our customers. And yeah, really, those are the three main ones. Thank you. Or three only ones, actually.
Yay, Julia, you got the floor. Go ahead now.
Okay, from my own understanding, adaptation, transparency, and inspection. So for adaptation, for inspection, really, like Jamila and Kelechi had said, that it's for everyone involved in the Scrum team to be able to know what is happening in terms of seeing the progress of the work that is going on. And then for transparency, of course, they all know what is being put into the project, what style, if I may use the word, is used for the project. And then for adaptation, also for everyone to know about the changes taking place, and how to make these changes come alive in terms of the end product of what is going to be served to the customer.
So this time, let's ask a different question, which is, oh, no, not me again. Why me?
No,
that was not you before, so this is you now.
This is you now, yeah. So the question we're going to be asking, right? Can
Okay.
you please elaborate on the 5 values of Scrum or Agile, like you would say?
No, those ones, I think those ones we can easily read them from Google, but I wanted to share that question of the day because I noticed that everybody ignored me and nobody answered. And I think it's something that can appear in anyone's interview. So
okay.
Do you want me to answer it?
Okay, you know what will happen? Let me spin the wheel. Okay. Then whoever it falls on, what is the question for the day, if I may ask?
Okay, so 2 things. I have a presentation slide prepared for this meeting but now that my laptop is acting properly, I would like to present it in the next half, but it's good that we're doing this session. So the question of the day was about have you had an issue with your product owner, and explain. So some people would say no, that's a red flag. It's almost impossible that a Scrum Master would not have issues with their product owner, because usually it happens, unless, I don't know, for some reason, luck is on your side and you have a very wonderful, angelic product owner. But usually that happens. So the question would be, what was the issue? How did you resolve it? So maybe let's spin the wheel and roll the.
I took you off already. And
Yeah.
who spoke before, so I can add them back on again? You know, after everything, you know, we can literally ask you to give us the overhead answer, right? But currently, who answered before that I took them off, please? Can you just say your name again?
Yeah, Jyoti. No, but you've taken them off now, right? So I don't think they should also talk again, because they've had the chance to speak. Yeah.
Okay.
You can take my own name off too. Okay.
Okay, I think I did. Yeah. Kola, you are destined for this. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think maybe Kola is busy. He's been on mute.
Hello, Kola. Are you there? Oh, no. Okay, we're gonna pass the baton to someone else. Probably will come back later. I think he's engaged doing some developer's job. Okay.
I think Kola is here. Kola is here. Joel.
Kola
is with you.
Okay, Kola. Please, can you go ahead and?
Okay. The question of the day. Kola, are you aware of the question of the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I joined when you were discussing I don't know the name of the lady was talking about the advantages of Scrum. Am I right?
No, pillars of Scrum.
The pillars of Scrum. You know, Scrum. Yeah. Okay, let me talk briefly.
No, that's not the question we're asking. We've changed the question. You want to go to the other one? No.
Okay, please, what's the question now?
Okay, the question is, this is an interview question now, mock interview question. Have you had any issues with your product owner? Please explain.
Okay. Let me simulate a scenario that I will present. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. But remember, during the interview, you will not have time to tell the interviewer. Let me simulate.
Okay.
Don't worry, why you need to be together. So just be yourself. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you. I will start a situation where I worked with a product owner who had the orientation of a project manager. Is bossy. He expects. He's somebody that asserts authority on the development team. He expects the developers to be presenting reports. He has this traditional approach to things. He's not well schooled in Scrum and Agile approach to project development. So I had problem, working with him, and it took me some time to explain to him the concept of Scrum, the orientation in Scrum, and the reason why everybody should, be team players. Views of everybody should be respected, and everybody should be carried along, in decision making.
Sorry, Joel, please stop recording. Joel, please stop recording. I'll only record during my presentation so that everybody can say their mind freely. Joel, I can't control the recording from my end. Sorry, Kola, I just want us to stop recording.
Hold on, please. I'm looking for the recording. Let me.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the fascinating world of Agile. Thank you for joining today. Our goal has always been and is still being chosen for the job that we're applying for, in this case, a Scrum Master job. Last week, or was it Tuesday, last class, we talked about the 6 main building blocks that we need to succeed as a Scrum Master. We need trainings, certifications, experience, a winning resume, a winning job search strategy, interview preparation. And we had discussed that the Scrum Master role is an experienced role, is a managerial role. And so newbies that just graduate straight from university are not expected to apply for this role. We recommend 3 years, at least 3 years post-study experience before embarking on this journey. It will really help you. Today, we would really like to focus on the experience element, especially for the newly formed teams, team X, Y, Z, and A. We've been assigned projects already, and I'm very happy and excited with the fact that we've all started connecting and taking advantage of the networking opportunity, which will really help us, not just today, but even for the future in building good relationships. As I had mentioned the last time, we're always here to help you, especially with number 4, 5, 6, building a winning resume, job search strategy, interview prep. For more details, you know our websites, www.kxconsultingltd.com. For team X, Y, Z, and A, the expectation is that by now you figured out who is your Scrum Master, who is your product owner, and who are your developers. Now, I'll go into more details about that Scrum team shortly. Some of the candidates we've worked with have either secured offers or interviewed at some point with these companies shown here. And we're hoping that you're going to be the next winning candidate. Now let's go into the expectations of the different teams that have formed. It's your responsibility to ensure that you have 5 active members on your team. I'm using the adjective active because the expectation is that you guys will pull each other up, not allow anyone give up along this journey, and continue to motivate yourselves, because looking for a job is not an easy ride or an easy journey. So please continue to motivate yourselves in your group of 5s. Sometimes fear comes in that, oh, I've not done this before. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm not good enough. Please be there to extend your hands to your team members to make sure that you guys are stronger together. The second responsibility is to ensure that you have a project assigned to you. And I'm sure this is already clear because I had the discussions before now. Everyone seems to be aware of what project they are working on. If you're on this group, on this call, and you still need to be assigned projects, please indicate in the Scrum Hub, and then we'll always be very happy to assign new projects. We have so many projects. We have more than 100 projects for you to work on. And at the end of the delivery of the project that you're working on currently, feel free to join another team when your delivery is done. It's a learning cycle and the doors are open for you to learn more. So number 3, team ensures software setup and tools are in place. It's your responsibility to make sure that your deliverables, all the deliverables that are expected of you, are delivered. And for you to do that, you would need your tools, right? No workman can work without tools. So you need your tools, Jira, Confluence, Figma, or Balsamic. Those are the 3 main tools we're using. For the developers, you can decide on Figma or Balsamic or both of them, just to get your hands dirty and get very used to those tools. For number 4, cross-functional team does 1 to 6 of the software development lifecycle. To your left, you would see the software development lifecycle, starting with requirements collection, analysis, designing, coding, testing, maintenance. It depends on how far you guys want to go, right? Some people may decide, okay, they just want to stop at designing because they're not developers. But some people may say, oh, let's just at least know what is happening in the development world, and they go a step further. But please don't lose sight of the deliverables and your timelines. Each of the teams can handle the work that they are doing in their own way, in an agile way, right? Nobody's going to tell you what to do. You have 2 main options though. Either you decide that, okay, since we have 2 sprints, and inside those 2 sprints, we have 4 days that we have to present, why don't, no, not 4 days, sorry, 8 days, why don't we rotate the roles throughout the 1 month? Is it that we want only one person to be the Scrum Master, or is it that we want to rotate that Scrum Master position so that everybody has a feel of it? It's entirely up to you. But the point is, try as much as possible to make sure that nobody is left behind and everyone is confident to be able to at least answer some interview questions at the end of your 1 month journey together. Okay. Number 5, that's what I just described. Decide roles and responsibilities. Is it going to be a static method or a dynamic method for your 2 sprints in a full 1 month cycle? The dates and the timelines I'll show us shortly, but please, like I had just mentioned just before now, that please let us make sure that we decide within our team members, do we rotate the roles of Scrum Master, Dev, and PO? Personally, I'm a bit biased towards rotating it so that everyone at least knows what the PO is doing, what the Dev is doing, what the Scrum Master is doing, but it all depends on you. For number 6, team presents deliverable at every sprint ceremony according to the table shown next, and I'll show that shortly. And then for number 7, team answers questions from the Scrum guide. So on the final day of your presentation, you'll be getting some questions from the Scrum guide. Every team member would have the opportunity to answer on that final day. So please make sure that you're carrying your team members along. Just to give us some insight as to the different roles in an organization, to the right-hand side is the Scrum team. These are the expectations of the Scrum team. And to the left-hand side, that is not part of the Scrum team. But we also need to work with the business, right? If you had looked at this Venn diagram, you see that there's also the organization portion, right? We have the organization portion that shouldn't be left out. So don't say, oh, because you're a Scrum Master, you're only going to focus on the PO and the dev team. No, you need to also be in touch, very much in touch with the organization. And that's what the left side of this divide symbolizes. So let's just go through these roles. Now, notice something. There's a product manager title and there's product owner title. Some organizations call product owners product managers, and they don't have anything like product owner. Just be aware of the roles and the responsibilities. For the product manager is expected to own the program backlog. Remember, this is program backlog. So there's program backlog and there's product backlog. As you get your certifications and your trainings, you become more familiar with these terminologies. The product manager defines features, PIs, releases. The product manager owns vision, roadmap, pricing, licensing, ROI, return on investment, collaborates on enablers, and makes sure that basically we're all building the right thing. The Scrum team ensures that they are building the right way, and it comprises of the product owner and the agile team, right? By the way, the product owner is still part of the agile team. Don't get it confused. The product owner is still part of the agile team. The product owner owns the team backlog or the product backlog. The product owner defines iterations and stories. The product owner contributes to vision, roadmap, ROI. The product owner accepts iteration increments. The agile team, which includes the product owner, builds quality involves agile architecture, owns estimates, evolves the continuous delivery pipeline. So basically, all of them in the agile team includes product owner, Scrum Master, developers, must make sure that they are building the right way. And in the long run, as everything comes together, it will also align through the help of the Scrum Master to ensure that we are building the right thing. So for the 4 teams, this is the schedule. for the next month, starting from Tuesday next week. Team X will be expected to present their sprint planning session on Tuesday, the 3rd of May, 2022. And that will be for the first sprint. So the first line on this schedule represents the first sprint. So Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, one sprint. Inside that one sprint, we're going to present sprint planning, daily stand-up and backlog refinements, sprint review, and sprint retro, one sprint. The second sprint will start immediately after this has been delivered on the 12th of May. You guys will continue meeting offline, but by the 17th of May, 5 days later, you'll be expected to present again the sprint planning. On the 19th of May, you'll be expected to present the daily stand-up and backlog refinements. On the 22nd of May, you'll be expected to present sprint review. On the 26th of May, you'll be expected to present your sprint retro. And that's the same day that you'll be asked questions from the Scrum guide. The assumption is that team X or Y will have 5 randomly selected team members that are active. Inside the 5 team members would be 3 developers, 1 Scrum Master, and 1 PO, which you can decide to rotate or have the same throughout the month, up to you. The tools needed would be 1 free version of Jira, 1 free version of Confluence, 1 free version of Figma or Balsamic, and a project will be assigned to each team. The same things I have just described applies to Team Z and Team A. What will change now would be the dates. So Team X and Y finish their presentations on the 26th of May. The following Tuesday, Team Z and Team A takes over and does their first sprint between the 31st of May till the 9th of June. And then 5 days later again, they come back for the second sprint to present the sprint planning, the daily stand-up and backlog refinements, the sprint review, and then the sprint retro. Again, on the last day of the sprint retro, which is on the 23rd of June, Team Z and Team A will have to answer questions in front of the large audience from the Scrum guide. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, I'll take silence as.
I have a question, right?
Sure.
Okay, I'm in Team Z. We're going to be starting our presentation from, I think, the 31st of May. Assuming we're done, right, with the sprint planning, having the tools, using our Confluence, Jira, and technically using our Balsamic and everything, should we wait till the 31st of May, or should we relate to you prior to this date?
No, you have to stick to the schedule. You have to wait till the 31st of May. And my next slide will be talking about the deliverables.
Okay.
From working on the tools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, great question. Okay. So Team A to Z, the deliverables to be showcased on Tuesdays and Thursdays according to their schedule. Sprint planning. On the day of your sprint planning, you will be expected to show the audience your product canvas. And I sent a sample of what the product canvas should look like, at least, so that we have the same uniform canvas to compare across teams. We'll need, if you haven't found that, please feel free to go back to the Scrum Hub and then scroll up all the way up. I'm sure somewhere you see it. Or otherwise, someone on the team can always point to it on the Scrum Hub. On the day of your sprint planning also, you'll be expected to show your Confluence page is up to date, your team agreements, all those things that should be on a team's Confluence page during your sprint planning should all be on your Confluence page to show. I'm not going to provide those details. Your team will need to do that research to find out what should be documented on a Confluence page during sprint planning session. Then on that same sprint planning day, you'll be expected to demonstrate that your team sat down and calculated the sprint, the team's, this is actually team, they calculated the sprint's capacity or the team's capacity. You'll need to find out how you do that, have the discussion with your team and show that you did that calculation. And then you also have to show us again that you've done some discussion around the team velocity. Is your team a new team? Is it an old team? If it is an old team, you have to discuss the team velocity. If it's a new team, you have to also discuss the team velocity, but you need to show us, the audience, that you thought about those things. Then you also have the Jira sprint backlog and the product backlog. Your team needs to demonstrate to us that the items that you have put in there have met the definition of ready. And on your Confluence page, we need to see what your definition of done and your definition of ready. You need to document all that on your team's Confluence page. So team A, we expect one Confluence page for you. Team B, no, team XYZ, we expect your Confluence page, one Confluence page per team. And we also need to know that for each of the items on the user stories that you came up with during your sprint planning session, that each of those stories have the acceptance criteria discussed amongst your team members. So these are the deliverables expected for sprint planning. For daily stand-up and backlog refinements, these are also the deliverables expected. I don't want to overflog time by reading them line by line, but this same screenshot was provided on the Scrum Hub. Or would you like me to go through them one by one? Okay. I think silence means no.
Sorry, we could just use today for a roadmap for the projects for the different teams. So please, if you can go through them one by one, that would make a whole lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks. So for the daily stand-up and backlog refinement day, this sprint planning will be Tuesday, this will be Thursday, this will be Tuesday, this will be Thursday. So for this one, you're expected to show your Jira Scrum board with all the assignees mentioned on your team. So in your own case, you would have five team members, but not all of them will be assignees on the board. You need to determine who will be the assignees and who would not be the assignees by yourself, right? And it's still okay if all 5 members are working on something on the Jira board. It's still okay for you to have all 5 assignees as well. Then you have your user stories. Make sure that your user stories pass the invest criteria. I'm not going to tell you what the invest criteria is. You can Google it, but make sure that your stories, all user stories, pass the invest criteria, and you're using the right format. What is the right format? As a user, I want to, so that you need to also research what the right format for user story is. Your Jira product backlog should be well groomed and should be prioritized in order of value, right? Your product owner should be on top of this one to make sure that all the product backlog items are properly prioritized. And if you need more information, of course, YouTube is always there. Google is always there. The point of this project is for everyone to keep researching and getting better ways to present their deliverables while keeping the project at the back of their minds. And then you also have your sprint backlog. Make sure that your sprint backlog has started, right? Make sure that you guys know how to use Jira to start a sprint, and everyone understands how to move from in progress to done, to do in progress to done, to do in progress to done. Make sure that everyone understands the workflow of Jira. And then at the end of the sprint, you'll be expected to do a sprint review. The developers would have to showcase their designs. So we would like to see the designs that they came up with, the mock-ups. So there's something called mock-ups, MOCKUPS. MOCKUPS. The more you play with Figma and Balsamic, the more you'll be used to the terminologies of Figma and Balsamic. It's very important for you to gain the flavor, to have a flavor of what the developers are doing, because you cannot describe what happened in your project without sounding like you really worked with the developers. And so your developers get used to the kind of tools that they're using, get used to the kind of buttons that you're seeing there on Balsamic and Figma. So there is no tool that is more important than the other, to be honest with you. Jira, Confluence, Figma, Balsamic, all tools get the job done. So try and get experience working with all of them. The developers have to showcase their Jira board with the acceptance criteria. So developers, apart from working with the Figma and Balsamic, they are also expected to understand how Jira and Confluence works, right? They are supposed to be updating best practices on Confluence. They're supposed to be pulling their stories from to do, in progress, and done. The fact that you're a Scrum Master does not mean that you own Jira, no. Always try to empower your team members to know how to use Jira, because the day you go on leave, Jira does not go on leave with you. So please try to make sure that everybody understands how to use the tool, even in a real life scenario. The next thing is to make sure that you discuss the workflow of all the tools and all the deliverables with your team members. Please don't work in silos, because working in silos is against Agile. So work together as cross-functional team members. Remember, the key word there is cross-functional. And how do you become cross-functional when you don't work with other people's tools? So try to make sure that the job flows around and everyone has a feel of what everyone is doing. We need to also make sure that at the end of every sprint, we're able to show something that the clients can actually use to make an important decision, right? So make sure that at the end of every sprint, you have something to deliver to the client so that they can make good business decisions with those deliverables. Then you should also make sure that the Jira sprint backlog and the product backlog meet the definition of done. Remember, at the beginning, during your sprint planning, your focus was on the definition of ready. By the time you get to the end of the sprint, your new focus is on the definition of done. Stories need to be closed out, and when you're closing out your user stories, please make sure that you close them with comments, so that even in the future, when you go back to those stories, you'll be sure that they were closed out properly. Please also make sure that you create epics. So there's something called the taxonomy. And I think I'll just try and see if I can send that to the Scrum Hub. But make sure that your version, your epic, your user stories are all well defined on Jira. Those will be looked out for. I'll send the picture of the taxonomy to the Scrum Hub after this call. For your sprint retro, we the audience will use the wheel of names to decide who goes first. So that's how we will know who participated and who didn't participate. That's how we will know who was active and who wasn't active. So we're going to use the wheel of names to spin the wheel to decide who we're going to be asking questions about the project, about Scrum, about Agile, about the Scrum guide. So please let everyone in your team be prepared. I hope we're having fun so far. This really sounds so exciting to me. So we also need, on the day of the sprint retro, to discuss what went well, what should be improved, and what should continue. And we also need to assess our team's agility health. Now, there's something called agility health, and there's something called agility health radar. Please research that. On that day, we'll be using that to ask you questions. I wouldn't show you where that is online, but all I can tell you is check for the agility health radar to assess yourselves as a team. And then the exciting part again, on the day of the sprint retro, we would also be looking at the question and answers from the Scrum guide. The Scrum guide is your bread and butter. The Scrum guide is your handbook. The Scrum guide is your manual. The Scrum guide is your reference point. please make sure that before you start applying for any job, you have read through the Scrum guide, you have got your trainings, you have got your certifications. Does anyone have any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're back to our bubbles again. Our job search workflow. All these things take time. Please try to work with experts so that your job search strategy does not seem painful. Try and make sure that you use these opportunities to gather enough experience. Make sure that you drown yourself, you immerse yourself with all the terminologies, because there's good light at the end of the tunnel. I want to continue to encourage us all. The questions of the day that we post from time to time, please let it not only be one-sided. If you feel like you're going through some interviews and they're asking some questions there that you think will help all the other members of the Scrum Hub, please always feel free to put up the question of the day. Yeah, so we need to have a good functional resume. While you're gathering experience, please start to polish your resume on the side. Start to prepare for your interviews, because the jobs are there. They're not hiding. They're all over the place for Scrum Masters. So it's only those who are prepared to the teeth that would get it, right? So you don't want to leave any stone unturned. And if you need to relieve yourself from all the stress, because some people end up going in merry-go-rounds because they don't know the right strategy to follow, we are always there at www.kxconsultingltd.com, and we're always there to help ease off that burden for you. There are no guarantees, of course, but we do our best, and so far we've had very good success stories. Does anyone have any questions? Because the presentation is over. Thank you. You can stop recording.